Welcome to training for the 2016 Report Card Data Collection, which we also refer to as the Summer Accountability Tasks. Instructions and deadlines for all of the accountability tasks will be posted to the bookshelf, and you can see the direct link there. Or from the bookshelf homepage, you can click the link that says Federal and State Accountability. Please be aware that the state frequently changes deadlines for these tasks, so be sure to check this page often. Also, the dates listed on the bookshelf are the official due dates that schools should follow. In many cases, these are a few days earlier than the state deadlines because the district staff needs time to compile information from all the schools and submit it to the state. So, if you see any conflicting dates in the instructions, be sure to follow the dates listed on the bookshelf. Reminders about upcoming deadlines will be sent via the operator notes that are emailed to school leaders each Tuesday and are also posted on the bookshelf. New this year, the SCDE will create an embargoed website where schools can view their state report card, which will be populated with data within 2 weeks of it being received. This link will be shared with school leaders when it becomes available. This will allow schools a longer period to review and possibly dispute data before it goes public. It is important to note that this link will be embargoed until report cards are published in November, and it should not be shared with anyone other than individuals directly reporting the school's data. This data collection occurs between 2 school years, so one frequently asked question is which school year the questions apply to. Please note that everything included in this data collection is referring to the entire 2015-16 school year that we just completed. You can see a few scenarios listed on the screen and how you should handle reporting data for those. If you have any other specific questions, please contact the district office. The first task is the summer survey, which collects data that appears on the state report card, such as student-teacher ratios, opportunities in the arts, course enrollment, etc. One of the first questions the survey will ask for is your school ID number, or SIDN. This is a 7-digit number beginning with 4701, also known as your BEDS code. Contact the district if you do not know your ID number. A copy of the survey questions is provided on the bookshelf. You are strongly encouraged to record your responses in this Word document and save it prior to submitting the data online. There have been many instances in the past where survey responses have gotten lost, and you will be grateful to have this to refer back to if that happens to you. The survey also includes information from many different areas, and it may take time for you to compile your responses, so it helps to have them all together before you try to enter it online. The narrative will be submitted in a new format than it was in previous years. Now you will need a login to the SCDE Member Center with the specific School Report Card Narrative role. Contact Zenobia Ely to let her know who at your school should be assigned this role. A first draft of the narrative must be submitted from all schools by the deadline listed on the bookshelf, though schools may continue to edit the narrative until the final deadline. The content of the narrative will have the same focus as last year and should answer the question of how your school is helping all students develop the world-class skills and life and career characteristics of the profile of the South Carolina graduate. If you are not already familiar with this profile, you can find it on the homepage of the SCDE website. The prompt you see listed in bold on the screen will be printed on each school report card. You may want to look back at last year's report card to see how this is formatted. The person who is editing your narrative will log in using a link at the top right of the SCDE website, which is ed.sc.gov. At the login page, you do have the option to reset your password if you have forgotten it. Once you are logged in, you will see a link to the School Report Card Narrative under the heading of Surveys. This is a screenshot of the Narrative app. You can see at the bottom that last year's narrative has automatically been imported, so you can refer back to that if you want. On the left-hand side, under the toolbox, you will see a link to create a new narrative for this year. After you click the link to add a new narrative, this is the box that opens up. Again, you can see last year's narrative for reference. You can also click the link to copy last year's narrative, then you can edit it for this year, or you can simply start typing in the box. New this year, you are allowed to use the different formatting options you see here, such as bold text, underlining, bulleting, etc. The narrative will appear on your report card exactly as you type it here. Remember, there are 2 deadlines associated with this task, a first draft and a final version. School users can continue to edit the narrative throughout the entire window. Be sure to check the bookshelf for updated deadlines. The next task will be the teacher attendance survey. For this one, schools will report data including teachers' days of employment, absences for personal reasons, and professional leave. At the time this training is being recorded, instructions and the survey link for this task are not currently available. However, they will be posted to the bookshelf as soon as the state releases them. The most frequently misunderstood component of this task is that every teacher absence throughout the 2015-16 school year should be reported in one of two categories. One question will ask about all leave for personal reasons, including long-term illness, short-term illness, personal leave, leave without pay, etc. Please read the instructions carefully, but essentially this question will include all teacher leave except professional leave, which will then be reported in a later question. The assessment review file will be an Excel spreadsheet sent individually to each school. The file will contain all students who may be included in federal and state accountability calculations. First, schools will review and edit whether each student was enrolled continuously for the applicable time period. In the past, this time period was your 45th day of school through the first scheduled day of each assessment. However, it has been communicated that perhaps the reporting would be simplified for all assessments down to a single date. When the instructions become available, please read them carefully to look for this possible change. If a student was not enrolled continuously for the designated time period, indicate this on the file and that student's test scores will not be included on the school report card. However, if a student was enrolled at the time of testing, the student will be included in your participation rate. This report will also give you the opportunity to review individual test scores for each student. Generally, you can assume these are correct, though you should certainly spot check several to be sure. You also want to be on the lookout for any unusual situations that arose during testing. For instance, you should verify the scores for any students who tested outside the normal testing window, any students who experienced glitches with online testing, etc. You may need to provide documentation from the testing contractor in order to change any scores that are listed in the file. After the school reviews it, this file should be returned to the district staff. Instructions for doing so will be posted to the bookshelf. This will need to be done several days prior to the state deadline so that it can be combined with the files from other schools and submitted as one file for the entire district. If your school serves only grades 8 or below, you can stop viewing the training at this point. If your school serves grade 9 or above, you may be required to complete a graduation rate file, even if you do not yet have graduating seniors. The state calculates graduation rate based on the year each student first entered the 9th grade. So if you have students who have been enrolled in high school for 4 years at any school in the state, even if they are not seniors, they are expected to graduate this year and will need to be reported. An explanation of how the state tracks students via their 9GR code is available on the bookshelf on the graduation requirement page. If this is your first time working with the grad rate file, you are strongly encouraged to review that guide. Each school will receive an Excel document listing the students who are expected to graduate this year. For each student, you will select their current status from a drop-down menu. The file will automatically update to indicate how the student will be calculated in your graduation rate. The school is required to keep documentation on file for all students and must be able to produce that documentation in case of an audit by the state. The file will be returned to the district staff, compiled with other schools' reports, and then submitted to the state. So be prepared to submit your file a few days before the state deadline. For the 5-year graduation rate, each school will receive an Excel file containing a list of students who did not graduate with the previous year's 4-year cohort. The process is very similar to the 4-year report, where schools will indicate an updated status for each student. If this report is the same as in previous years, then the Excel file will not automatically update to indicate how the student will be counted, so don't let that concern you. Again, documentation for each student must be maintained at the school in case of an audit, and the file will need to be returned to district staff a few days prior to the state deadline. In addition to viewing this training, school staff should carefully review instructions that are posted for each task on the bookshelf. If you have any questions, please do not hesitate to contact the district. You can see our contact information listed on the screen now. Thank you.